Shirley Hawthorne, also known as Cheryl Pearl. Um, I'm starting this new thing. It's been on me for a while to start it, so I'm starting it now. Um, I have recently went through a very trying time in my life. I've lost um, all of my parents. I've lost my father, 2009. I lost my stepfather in 2018, and I lost my mother in 2019. Uh, Less than a year apart for my stepfather and my mom. I used to spend almost every day with them, and losing my stepfather was very challenging. He was in my life for about 18 years. And then, once he passed, my mom, she went through a grieving process, and she was still actually going through it when she passed away. My mom never really got over losing my stepfather. My stepfather was everything to her. My stepfather was almost like her lifeline. And so when she lost him, it became very hard for her. And every day was like a struggle for her. Every day was like a fight for her. She kept people around her constantly to try to not deal with the fact that he was no longer there. And and I watched her cry for almost every single day since he's been gone. And so uh, that's how I learned that it was an unhealthy way of grieving. And uh, when my mother passed, um, it was hard because it wasn't expected. Um, I don't know if when you know someone or someone is expected to pass, I don't really think that that makes it any easier. But not knowing and not being prepared definitely makes it hard. And so not to put all my family businesses out there, but we had some things that went on, and my mom, her insurance policy was no longer active, and so um, it was difficult getting the funeral home to go ahead with the services and coming up with the money so that it wouldn't be a debt that was hanging over my head. But one of one of the a very influential person in my life, which is my first lady of the church that I go to, the church that I attend. The day that my mother passed, she came over to my house and we sat on the couch. And of course, I'm still, you know, very emotional. But one thing she told me was there is a healthy way of grieving and there's a unhealthy way of grieving. And like I said, I knew this from watching my mom grieve when my stepfather passed away. And so I knew the unhealthy side of grieving. And so I told myself that day that I knew that I would grieve, but I knew that I wanted to live even after this, and even though it's very hard, and sometimes I ask myself like how will I even get out the bed today, or how can I face the days ahead, or matter of fact, how can I even face the next minute? Um, I My strength comes from God. Period. I can't say I don't know where it comes from because I know that it's not my own. Um, my mother was my best friend for years. I know a lot of people say that, but legit, my mom was my best friend. We talked almost 10, 15 times a day. Sometimes I was like, oh God, why are you calling me this time? But she was legit my best friend. She was my bridge over troubled water. She was the apple of my eye. She was everything to me. When I would go outside, when I was at home, when I moved away from or moved out of the house with her, when I moved into my own place, if something came on TV, I would call her. If a game was on, I would call and stay on the phone with her. Or if I just walked outside. To smoke a cigarette or something, I would call her. So my everyday life consisted of talking to and seeing my mother, because I would almost go by there every single day as well. Some days I would be tired from working and I would go home and get into bed, but I would definitely call her during my shift, or when I got off of work, Or when I got home, got ready to get into bed, I would call her. Before I go to sleep, I would call her. And so when I went to drop my mother at work, at the hospital that Sunday before she passed, I knew she would be okay. So I thought, and I felt like I felt like I had, that I was gonna take her, and we was gonna go on back home. And so when I took her to the hospital on January 6th, they ended up admitting her because of a number of things, her potassium, magnesium, electrolytes, and things like that. And so even when they admitted her, they put her in ICU. They told me I couldn't really stay in the room with her. And, anybody that stayed at the hospital before knows that those chairs in the waiting room are just not comfortable. So I ended up going home. I went to see her first thing the next morning when they had the visiting hours. Picked my brother up. We went and seen her. At the end of the visiting hours, went home. I went back for the second visiting hour. And that was on Monday. And, man, I went home that night. Alabama was playing in the bowl, or in the championship game. I called her and we talked noise during the game. And fourth quarter, when it was over with, I called her and we talked for a while. And she said that she was going to try to get some sleep. And I said, okay, well, I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'll be up there in the morning. Okay, so we get off the phone, and 2:32. Let me back up just a little bit. I always keep my phone on silent. That's just me. I keep it on silent. And so this particular night, I put my phone on ring. 2:32 a.m. My phone ring, and it's my mother. And she, very panically, and she was like, I just need to talk to you. So I'm like, okay, Mom, I'm here. What's wrong? And she's gasping for air and everything. And so I'm like, she's like, I love you. I said, Mom, I love you too. I was like, I need you to calm down and let the doctors do their job. They're there. And so she still breathing, strange. And I'm trying to get her to calm down and talking to her. She has me on speakerphone. I hear the nurses and the doctors in there, and one of the nurses tell me over the speakerphone that they've called the respiratory therapist in. I said, okay, whatever. She says, you may need to get up here. Okay, on my way. Immediately, I jumped out of bed. I started putting my clothes on. It took me all of maybe about 3-4 minutes to leave my house. I stepped on my porch. Immediately, it came hard for me to breathe. And it was almost like I was like, okay, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm tripping. And I'm, trying to control my breathing so that I don't start having a panic attack. And so I step off of my porch. I get to my car. I threw up. Again, this is, I'm just like, okay, just tripping, whatever. I get in the car, start my car up, and drive off. And friends in the car with me. And she said, do you need me to drive? I'm like, no, I'm good. I drive maybe 3 minutes and I throw up again. And so I was like, okay, maybe you do need to drive. Still, all this time, I'm still trying to control my breathing. In my heart, I knew that my mother wasn't going to make it. So I pull over and I let my friend drive. And when I get to the hospital, I see the door open for me to go through or whatever. I tell the guy I'm there for my mom, and he said, is it MICU? And I say, yes. He's go through. I go up, me and my friend, and I'm walking in. And as soon as I walk in, I see them trying to resuscitate my mother. And immediately my heart dropped. I just could not. The emotions I felt in that moment, I turned around and I went back to the waiting room. I called my aunt and I told my aunt that she may need to get to the hospital. I then called my brothers and I called my sister and told them to get to the hospital as well. By this time, my nerves are shot. My friend is there with me. My other friend that had gotten there by that time as well. And so we study. So I'm still trying to gather in my mind and my heart what is going on at that moment. And I walk outside. I said, oh, I'm going to go outside and smoke a cigarette and try to calm my nerves. And I get outside and I'm sitting there. And one of my friends had made it there. And she's embracing me at the time or whatever. And by this time, my brothers pull up. My friend that was with me, I see her walking out the door. And she comes to tell me that my mother is gone. Immediately, I lost it. You know, I screamed, I hollered. I didn't understand, like, why. I felt that it was unfair. I felt that it just wasn't supposed to happen like that. And so they walked me back upstairs to see my mom, and as she lays there, lifeless, it's still hard for me to wrap my mind around the fact that my mother had passed away. January 8th, 2019. The hardest, most unbearable, tragic time in my life. I had lost loved ones before. I lost a best friend in high school. I lost my grandparents. And I lost my father and lost my stepfather. But this one hit closer and harder than any of them. I couldn't understand. I was angry, still angry. So many questions why. So many just didn't understand it. Angry, frustrated, mad, sad, all of that. And yesterday marked the month for, since she passed, and even still, I have those emotions inside of me, and I've ended friendships, I've ended relationships because I can't bring my mind to deal with anything extra, with anything besides this that's in front of me, and trying to figure out how do I live my life now. The woman that I've seen almost every day for 35 years, that have provided for me, that has loved on me, that has always had my back no matter what. Even in some instances and some things that she didn't agree with, she still loved me. She loved on me. I did right by my mother. Anything my mother ever asked me, I did it. My mother was my best friend. And so I loved her as such. And I did, I treated her as such. Never did I cuss her. Never did I be disrespectful or none of that. I couldn't bring myself to do it because this was my mother. This was the lady that gave birth to me. And so with that being said, I've done right by my mother for 35 years. And I'm not bragging because some people in some situations are just different. But for those of you whose parents are still living, I beg of you, I ask you to fix the issues. Because at the end of the day, when your mother is gone, you will feel it. And dealing with this and everything else, I have become numb at this moment in my life. I have plenty of sleepless nights. I have so many questions in my head. I have emotions like all over the place. One moment I'm wondering this. The next moment, I'm wondering that. I have become numb, and I don't know how to shake it. I don't know if it will ever change. If it does, great. If it doesn't, I will learn to cope with it and cope through it and get to where I need to be. Everyone grieves differently, and I'm definitely not trying to tell you how to grieve when it comes to losing a loved one. But what I am telling you is there's a healthy way of grieving and there's a unhealthy way of grieving. And most times, I believe that a person could die of a broken heart. And my heart is shattered. You know, like I said, I've lost all my parents. I've lost all my grandparents. I didn't know one heart could break that many times. I didn't. But I find my strength in knowing that I done right by my parents and I done right by my grandparents, and so I press. You know, my strength comes from God and my strength comes from them, and because I know that they want to see me succeed. I know they want to see me prevail, and so I do. I press no matter the situation, no matter how drained I feel, no matter how numb I feel, no matter how angry I am, no matter how sad I am, I press. Years ago, and this is another story for another vlog, but right now I'm going to go ahead and just put it out there. Years ago, I lost my best friend. And I went through a depression. It's real. And I was going through depression, and I had a lot of other things going on in my life at the time, and so I turned to suicide. I can't remember how many pills. I don't even remember the name of the pills I took, but I knew that I didn't want to live anymore. I didn't want to face life anymore. And so I took those pills, and my cousin found me, and they ended up rushing me to the hospital. Although I wasn't conscious, I could hear everything going on around me. And I heard the doctor tell my mom if they didn't flush my system out within 30 minutes or less, then there was a chance I wouldn't make it. God allowed me to feel the pain and the hurt and the frustration and anger that my mom felt in that moment when the doctor told her that. My mom and my sister were in the room, and God allowed me to feel their emotions while I was laying there and couldn't do or respond to anyone. And in that moment, I prayed a prayer to God that no matter how hard life got, no matter what I had to face, no matter what I had to deal with, that I would never try to take my own life again if he pulled me out of that. I prayed that prayer, and I can remember a tear rolling down my face and my mom wiping that tear. As my mom wiped that tear away, I told God, this is my promise. No matter what, I'll never try it again. And boy, have I had some struggles, some things to deal with, and it's been very rough and very hard. But I have kept that promise to God. And so, as I said, it's only a month yesterday since my mom's been gone. But still, I press. Sometimes I have to take it second by second in my days. But I know that she will want me to succeed, and she will want me to go on with my life. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm going to try to the best of my abilities to do it in a healthy way. Listen, I just want to thank you all for watching. Again, thank you all for watching. My name is Shirley, also known as Cheryl Pearl. Hey, listen, I thank y'all for watching, man, for real. There's plenty of more to come. Not all of my vlogs will be sad. I'm going to try to keep some of them lit. I'm going to try to just vlog my life at different times. You'll never know what you're going to get with me. I got a petty crew of friends, and I'm telling you, they've been waiting on this. So I'm telling y'all, stay tuned. It's more great stuff to come. If you have any suggestions, opinions, whatever, drop them below. Again, Pearl is my name. Hey, I'm here. If you want my opinion on something, I don't mind giving it either. I'm telling y'all, just be prepared, because I'm a transparent person, man. I love y'all. Hey, I pray to God that you all continue to be a blessing and be blessed. All right.